The Mayor of Mogadishu, a story of chaos and redemption in the ruins of Somalia. Written by Andrew Harding. Introduction. A City of Return. It was a morning of blinding heat and the smell of dust and salt. As the small plane descended toward Mogadishu, the city revealed itself, a pale sprawl by the sea, scarred by war, shimmering with the uneasy calm of survival. Mohammed Noor, known since childhood as Tarzan, pressed his face to the window. After more than 2 decades in exile, he was home. The air hit him like a wave when he stepped onto the runway, part memory, part shock. Soldiers in mismatched uniforms guarded the perimeter, their eyes sharp and weary. The airport was surrounded by blast walls and checkpoints, yet beyond them lay fragments of the city he remembered: the turquoise ocean, the white ruins of old Italian villas, the minarets still standing amid rubble. People greeted him with cautious curiosity. Some saw a symbol of return, others a fool's errand. Tarzan smiled, but beneath it was disbelief. That he, a boy who once begged for food in these streets, was now mayor of a city that barely existed. His return was both personal and national. In him converged 2 journeys, one of a man who refused to forget, and one of a nation trying to remember what it once was. For Mogadishu, he thought, was not just a city. It was a mirror of Somalia's soul, fractured, proud, resilient. To lead it was to walk into history's open wound. Chapter 1. The Lost City. Before war turned it to dust, Mogadishu had been one of Africa's jewels. Its avenues were lined with palm trees and coral stone houses. Its markets rang with languages from every shore. Sailors came from Arabia, merchants from India and Italy, poets from the hinterlands. The sea breeze carried the scent of spices and coffee, and laughter drifted through open windows. Then came the unravelling. Clan divisions that had long been contained under dictatorship burst into open war after the fall of Siad Barre in 1991. Neighbourhoods became battlefields. Families fled. Others vanished. The state collapsed, and the city became a patchwork of militias, each checkpoint flying a different flag. What once united Mogadishu, its cosmopolitan openness, became its curse. Every street was claimed, every identity scrutinized. Even the ocean, once a symbol of freedom, became a graveyard for those who tried to escape by boat. By the early 2000s, Mogadishu was synonymous with chaos. Foreigners called it the world's most dangerous city. Yet even then, life persisted. Markets reopened amid gunfire. Children played football in the ruins. The city refused to die, not because it was strong, but because its people could not give up the idea that someday normal life would return. When Tarzan returned, he carried that memory like a map. Beneath the ruins, he still saw the city of his youth. He came not to mourn, but to rebuild, though even he could not know how deeply the city's ghosts would test him. Chapter 2. The Street Boy. Long before politics or exile, there was hunger. Tarzan's earliest memories were of the streets, of searching for scraps, of sleeping in doorways, of growing up invisible. His parents were gone before he could know them. The city itself became his family, harsh but familiar. He learned early that survival depended on wit. He scavenged at the port, carried water, sold whatever he could. The other boys called him Tarzan because he was fearless, climbing walls and trees to escape soldiers or dogs. In a city divided by class, he was the proof that determination could still carve a path. That path led, improbably, to opportunity. Through chance and stubbornness, he won a place at a local school. then a scholarship abroad. For the first time, he glimpsed a world where words mattered more than weapons. Education became his escape, and in time, his passport out of poverty. When war came, he fled. The city burned behind him as he boarded a flight to Europe. But even in London, where he worked odd jobs, raised a family, and built a Somali community, the streets of Mogadishu haunted his dreams. The boy who had once scavenged for survival could not stop imagining how to rebuild the city that had abandoned him. Chapter 3: Exile and Reinvention. In London, Tarzan learned the discipline of the diaspora. Exile was not rest. It was another kind of struggle. Somali refugees filled the estates of North London, carrying their losses like invisible luggage. Some built new lives. Others sank into nostalgia or despair. Tarzan was different. He had the restlessness of someone who believed exile was temporary. He organized community meetings, helped mediate disputes, and earned a reputation for blunt honesty. His small apartment became a refuge for newcomers, a place to talk, argue, remember. He watched from afar as Somalia's governments rose and fell. International conferences promised renewal, but each collapsed under the same weight: clan loyalties, corruption, mistrust. Tarzan grew convinced that rebuilding would never come from abroad. The country would have to save itself, and that meant people like him would one day have to go back. When the call finally came, an invitation to return and take part in reconstruction, he did not hesitate. Friends warned him he was walking into danger. He shrugged. "It's my city," he said. "If I don't go, who will?" Exile had given him safety, but not peace. Only Mogadishu could give him that, or take it away. Chapter 4: Return to the Ruins. The appointment as mayor came with both promise and peril. Mogadishu was slowly emerging from the shadow of Al-Shabaab, the extremist group that had ruled much of the city. African Union forces had pushed them back, but peace was fragile. Every street still hid old loyalties. Every building bore the scars of war. Tarzan walked through the ruins like a man visiting his own past. Government offices had no windows or electricity. Streets were choked with rubble and checkpoints. Yet amid the destruction, he saw potential. The energy of people who wanted to believe again. He launched cleanup campaigns, opened schools, reopened markets. He ordered the demolition of illegal checkpoints and banned guns from city offices. His speeches were fiery, mixing defiance with hope. "This city will rise again," he said, standing before a crowd of shopkeepers and soldiers. But progress was fragile. Each reform stirred resistance. Militias still ruled the night. Corruption ran deep, and those who profited from chaos saw him as a threat. The optimism of his early months collided with the brutal logic of power. Yet even as attacks targeted him, he refused to retreat. "If I die cleaning my city," he said, "then I will have lived for something." Chapter 5: The Experiment of Order. Governing Mogadishu was like rebuilding a house while the fire still burned. Every day brought a new crisis, a bombing, a dispute, a demand for loyalty. Tarzan moved through it with a mix of rage and faith. He berated lazy officials, refused bribes, and walked the markets without guards, determined to show that fear could not rule forever. His vision was simple: to restore normal life, to make the garbage collected, the lights work, the roads safe. To outsiders, these seemed modest goals, but in Mogadishu they were revolutionary. Order itself had become an act of defiance. Yet the deeper challenge was political. Somalia's clan system, both protective and poisonous, shaped every decision. Tarzan tried to govern beyond it, to treat all citizens as Mogadishans first. But the system pushed back. Every reform was interpreted through clan lenses, every appointment a potential insult. The struggle wore him down. Still, he believed that even symbolic victories mattered. A functioning streetlight, a reopened park, a child walking to school without fear. These were signs that chaos was not inevitable. He understood that rebuilding was not just about structures, but about restoring belief in the idea of a shared city. Chapter 6. Hope, Danger, and Disillusionment. As the months passed, the tension between vision and reality grew. Al-Shabaab continued its attacks, targeting hotels, offices, and crowded streets. Each explosion undid months of fragile progress. International donors offered help, but their projects often bypassed the local government, feeding resentment and dependence. Tarzan found himself surrounded by enemies and skeptics alike. Some accused him of arrogance, others saw him as naive. Yet his defiance remained his armor. He argued with ministers, clashed with businessmen, even alienated allies. "You cannot rebuild with fear," he insisted. But fear was everywhere. His term as mayor ended abruptly, dismissed by a government uneasy with his independence. It was a bitter ending to a hopeful chapter, but even in his disappointment, he refused to leave again. He stayed in Mogadishu, still walking its streets, still believing in its rebirth. Disillusionment did not erase conviction. He had learned that change in Somalia is never linear. It bends, it breaks, it begins again. What mattered was not whether he succeeded, but that he tried, that he dared to imagine a city beyond survival. Conclusion: the city that refuses to die. Mogadishu's story is not one of triumph or defeat. It is a story of endurance, of a city that, despite everything, continues to breathe. In its ruins live the memories of what was lost and the stubborn will to rebuild. Each morning, traders open their stalls, children walk to school, and families gather by the sea. Life reclaims the spaces that war once owned. Tarzan's journey mirrors that of his city. Both rose from hardship, both were scarred by betrayal, and both kept moving forward. His mayoralty was not the end of chaos, but a reminder that leadership in such a place is not about control. It is about faith. To love Mogadishu is to accept its contradictions, its beauty and brutality, its promise and peril. In the broader story of Somalia, Tarzan stands as a symbol of return, of those who come back, not because the homeland is safe, but because it is unfinished. The city that once expelled him became the place where he found his purpose. And though bombs may still echo across its streets, the fact that Mogadishu endures at all is proof of something irreducible: the human refusal to let memory fade into dust. Thanks for listening.
Did you enjoy this book summary? Got ideas on how we can make it even better? Drop us a quick note. We're always listening and learning from you.